Okay, so today we are going to go over the practice midterm number 4. This is the one I think it's closer to the actual midterm, and I also think I'm going to today show you how I think about these problems and also how I use Excel and the online calculator that I recommend, which is the Wolfram Alpha, to do these. The professor's answer sheet has already provided calculations done by hand as well as done by R. So if you're comfortable with using R, you can certainly do that. But I think maybe some of you, like me, would prefer using Excel, then we can do that as well. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So for number 1, I trust you guys have all read the set of the questions. I'm not going to bore you with that. The first question asks, what is the probability the Democrats win all 6 northern suburban counties? Well, we know that the Democrats have a 60% chance of winning in each of the 6 northern suburban counties. So we can do it in 2 ways. One way we can think about is independent events happening, and what are the chances of the sort of a combined probability. In that case, since they're independent, we can just multiply each of their probability together, in which case that's 0.6 times 0.6 times 0.6, or 0.6 to the 6th power. Right, so that's one way to think about it. Another way to think about it is to think, okay, this is similar to a binomial probability where you have 6 tries and I want to get all 6 tries. So therefore, according to the formula, that is 6 choose 6, and the times of success, which is 0.6 succeeding 6 times, and then multiply the probabilities of failure, which is 0.4 to the 0th power, because there's no failure, right? It turns out these two are equally just 1, and therefore I just have this middle thing left, which is exactly what we had earlier. So therefore, that's our answer. And let's go use a calculator. And here we go. This is our result. And I believe we are required to round to 4 decimals. So let's round it to the 4 decimals. And that will be our answer to number 1. Pretty unlikely, right? Winning all 6. Okay, now moving on to number 2. What is the probability that on election night, the first northern suburban county to report a Democratic win will occur after at least 4 northern suburban counties report Republican wins? So we basically want something like a failure, 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 success, or we can have failure, 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 and success, right? So these are the 2 scenarios that could fulfill this criteria. So what does that look like to you? So basically, this is getting our first win or first success after some trials. And that is which distribution? Well, if we remember from this table, this is a geometric probability, right? Number of trials until first success. And we want to do 2 of them with P5 and P6, right? Getting on the 5th try or getting on the 6th try. So therefore, that's what we're going to be using. And that's it. And what's the formula again? The formula is simply the number of failures times the final success, right? So therefore, I want 4 failures, so 0.4 to the 4th power times the final one is a success, or I have 0.4 to the 5th power, 5 failures first, and then a success, right? So therefore, that's what we have, and essentially just need to add them up, right? So let's add them up. That will be essentially 0.4 to the 4th times 0.6 plus 0.6 times 0.4 to the 5th power. And that's our result. Again, rounding it to perhaps 4 decimals, then we can drop the last 2. So this is our answer for problem 2. Okay. All right, number 3. each county will report its result at different times on election night. You hope that the Democrats will win more than one northern suburban county, and then Democrats will be reported relatively early. What is the probability among northern counties? So again, we're only considering the northern counties that the second reported Democratic win occurs before the fifth Republican win. Okay, so we want 2 wins, right? We want 2 wins before 5 Republican wins. There's only 6 counties. 5 Republican wins will basically say failure, 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 or basically having like just 1 Democratic win, right? But that's actually not that important because if we're getting the second Democratic win, that means there's no way for us to get a 5th Republican win because there's only 6 in total, right? So all we needed to do is calculate the probability that 2 Democrats win. Okay, so we can think of this in 2 ways. We can think of it as a negative binomial. Let me pull that up. A negative binomial getting to 2 successes with a given probability, right? Because that's the only 2 parameters that we have, and we use this formula for it. But we want to do that for getting on the second, getting on the third, getting on the fourth, getting on the fifth, or getting on the sixth. So we can add them all up that way. Okay, so that's one way to do that.